Amanda Bassett, and tonight I'm going to be speaking to you about homeschooling versus public schooling, and whether or not homeschool or public school is the better choice. In the 2011-2012 school year, roughly 3% of the United States children's population was homeschooled. Of these children, 68% of them were white, 8% were black, 15% were Hispanic, and 4% were Asian or Pacific Islander. Of the parents of these children, 91% of them claimed that they were worried about the environment of other schools. That was their main reason for choosing to enroll their children in homeschooling or just keep them home. The environment meaning violence. In the news, we've seen many school shootings lately. Bomb threats. I remember myself when I was in middle school, in 1 week we had 8 bomb threats. Mind you, those were pieces of paper that were dropped in the hallways on our way to class that kids just wanted to get out of school. Nonetheless, that's something parents worry about. What if it was a real threat? Kids are bringing guns to school a lot more often, knives. Another reason why parents choose to keep their kids home is bullying. Bullying has become such a big issue. I personally was bullied when I was at school. I was in public school. I was the fat kid. Nobody likes the fat kid. But I survived. Other reasons include sleep patterns. Parents don't want to get up early to take their kids to school, especially if you're a homemaker. If you're staying at home, why should you have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get your kid to school when you could just say, hey, let's wake up at 9 and get our day started later on? Religious reasons. Many parents of large religious groups keep their kids home so they can teach the religious values and morals to their children. One example is the Duggar family that's been featured on TLC. All the children are homeschooled. This is so that they are not exposed to morals or values that are against their own. Also, one of the biggest reasons is children with special needs. If a child is deaf, has autism, is blind, or any number of reasons why your child has special needs, the local public schools may not be a good fit for your child because they might not be equipped to handle them. If you have to choose a private school, the local private schools might not be equipped to handle your child. You may have to branch out. One of my coworkers, her child was deaf, so she had to move from a small town where her other kids were going to public school closer to Ann Arbor so that she could take her child to the private school that was able to handle her deaf child. If she were to stay at the small town public school, she would have to commute 3 hours 2 ways just to commute her child back and forth to school. One of the benefits of homeschooling is the parent gets to determine the curriculum. Maybe advanced algebra for a 9th grader is not right for your particular 9th grader. Maybe they're still in a lower level of math. Maybe they're not quite understanding biology or something like that. So the parent gets to gear their children more to their needs. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering a lot. Again, religious instruction is one of the benefits because many parents argue, there's not enough God in school. Maybe your child is going to school with atheists. Many of the fighters that are saying there's not enough God in school are Christian. Many Jewish children go to school, public schools, I'm sorry, that was stated completely wrong. Your child, your Christian child, may be going to school with a Jewish child. They don't want to hear that Jesus is great, Jesus is grand every single day. So why would the parents of those children advocate for prayer in school? They just want their child to go to school. Another reason that homeschooling could be a benefit is you get to spend more time with your family. If both parents are working, they may have opposite schedules. The children are going to school. You might only get to see your children on the weekends. But let's get to the cons. Here's the bulk of my argument. I don't think homeschooling is the best choice in general for children. And one of that is socialization. That's the biggest reason I don't think homeschooling is the best. It's much harder for children of homeschooling to get socialized. They don't have children their own age to play with unless they have a brother or sister with them. But even so, that brother or sister is not another child. They're not seeing other cultures. They're not getting interaction with other families. Once children grow up from the elementary level and say they're in college, they may look back and say, I didn't get to go to prom because, well, my family didn't have a prom. I didn't get to go to a homecoming game. I didn't get to do the average things that public school students get to experience. Those are big experiences in life. Another reason is I think religion teaching is a good thing. I'm personally not very religious, but one of my close friends is. She's, I call, extreme Christian. I was talking to her about evolution. She never learned the term evolution. This would make any biology teacher in college want to hit you over the head with a book. You have to know certain terms. You have to have an understanding of the general education so that when you get to college, when you get out into the real world away from your parents, you're not going to be standing there looking stupid or feeling stupid, not understanding what's being taught. Which brings me to another point. Homeschool children will never keep up with the state or national recommended curriculum. They're always going to be a little bit behind because the parents also have to stay up to date with the curriculum. Anyone can homeschool their child. If I were to have a child right now, in 4 or 5 years when they were of school age, I could start teaching my child. I'm not a teacher. I'm not state certified. Why should I be allowed to teach my child these facts to go out into the real world where they're gearing up for a career? I can't teach them just what I know. So the parent, it is the parent's responsibility to know these things. They have to do their own research. So if you are 2 working parents or a single parent, you can't homeschool your child in a, I'm sorry, I can't think of the word, a good way. Still couldn't think of the word. If you are a parent with multiple children trying to homeschool, your children are going to be of different ages, most likely, unless you had twins or triplets, yada yada. The multiple ages. Say you have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. How are you going to teach that 10-year-old while you're trying to teach the 5-year-old? You're going to be geared more towards that 5-year-old because they need the most help. They don't know how to read as well, math as well, but that 10-year-old still needs instruction. Can you split your teaching time in half in order to teach these kids? Or say you have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. There's 3 different age groups. which would put them in 3 different grade groups. This is more research you have to do. This is more updating you have to do. In general, homeschooling is more expensive. You have to pay for books. Every single person watching this knows how expensive school books are because we have to get them for school. I'm sorry, $400 for one textbook is ridiculous. But think about that. If you're homeschooling, you're not taking just one class. You're not teaching one class. It's history, English, mathematics, science. Everything you would learn in a regular school, you now have to teach your child. Okay, I just named off 4 subjects. That's $1,200 on average for books. There is a new online program for homeschooling your child called K-12. It is free and they use state certified teachers. Again, it's harder to regulate that. If you have a kindergartner doing online classes, how are you going to monitor their schooling properly? You have to sit there right with them. So why are they using that program when you should be teaching them if you choose to homeschool? I lost my train of thought and my place. In general, I don't think homeschooling is the right idea for most students. Of course, there are always those exceptions. Say you are a military child, so you're moving from base to base, state to state, or you do have special needs that the schools can't meet. Every rule has its loophole. If I were a parent, I would not homeschool my child. I would want them to get that socialization. Bullying can be done anywhere now. We've all heard of cyberbullying. That's big right now. A lot of kids around the country are taking their lives because of cyberbullying. So just keeping your kid home isn't going to protect them from that. You have to teach your child outside of the schoolroom how to be a good person, how to defend themselves against the world. And I think going to a public school will help them learn that defense. I hope this was an eye-opening experience. I know this was a really rough draft. I hope to be a lot better for my final copy, and I wish you all a good night and good luck on your final speech.